Interesting stories today. This episode is called Deal Breakdown. We cover cool, interesting stories in real estate. If you have not heard the other episode, please go check it out. We covered a unique strategy to generate leads your way. And if you learn a lot in the episode, please go check it out. But today we have Garrett coming back. What is your cool, interesting story? The good, the bad, the ugly? Let's hear about it.
Man, okay. So I'm going back to the very beginning. June 2014 when I started. I started on a real estate team. And as I mentioned in the other episode, it took me 5.5 months before I got my first deal. So I thought I was terrible at it. I probably was, but I thought I was absolutely terrible. I needed to quit, right? Yep.
7 months.
It took you 7 months? Yeah. See, it's such a common thing. And those agents that are like, man, I haven't gotten a deal. Nice. I mean, it's hard, right? Yeah, right. It takes a while. But so I'm on a team. And my team leader feels bad for me. So he comes to me one day, it's a couple months in, he says, I've got a slam dunk client for you, which okay, it's awesome. I'm sitting there not understanding what I'm supposed to do all day. Like, what kind of job is this? There's nothing for me to do because I have no people. So he hands me this guy. His guy's name is Simon. Turns out he's a 20-year-old guy, military. We live in a pretty military area. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just really excited. Right. So we meet and we walk through what the process is. He signs a buyer brokerage agreement. And then we go and see like every possible house that exists. Cause I don't know how to control, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm excited too. And we finally pull the trigger on this house, get under contract. He's excited about it. Well, we've gone through the home inspection time frame. We've cleared all that. We're like, I don't know, a week and a half away from closing. I get a call from him one night. Every contingency has been removed, including the appraisal. I get a call from him one night at like 10:30 p.m. I don't know why I answered. I wouldn't now, but I answered. And I get on the phone. I say, hey, Simon. And the first thing he says is, Garrett, if the seller doesn't drop the price $20,000 right now, I'm walking. I'm like, what? He says, if they don't drop the price $20,000 right now, I'm walking. And so, I'm kind of freaking out anyways. I want to get paid and I want him to get this house. And I know we can't do that. So I try to calm him down, say, Simon, they don't have to do that. Of course I will ask for you, but there's no reason they should do it. And he says, if they don't do it, I'm walking and I'm going to the papers. That's what he said. I'm like, papers? This is 2014. Even then, no one's going to the papers, right? That's not going to scare him. So I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll call him. So the next day I call the agent, who's just not nice anyways. And I say, okay, I'm just doing this because I have to, right? So don't get angry at me. The buyer wants you guys to drop the price $20,000 or he's going to walk away. And the guy just starts cussing me out, man, just so angry at me, a terrible conversation. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. And then I hang up. So I call my client back and I say, hey, I talked to them and they're, unwilling to drop the price $20,000. And so he just starts cussing me out, even though I had nothing to do with this. Right. I'm just stuck in the middle. And he says, Garrett, I've got a friend who's a Harvard lawyer and I'm going to the papers. And I'm like, I still don't understand the thing about the papers, but okay. And so he says, I'm going to sue them. So, all right. And I'm sitting there. So I hang up the phone and I go to my team leader. I'm like, dude, what is this real estate? Like, I've never had a deal before. You told me this is slam. This is terrible. A couple hours later, I get a call from the agent, and I have my team leader on the call this time, but get a call from the agent, and he hops on. He says, Garrett, your client just called me and cussed me out. I'm like, wait, what? My client called you, the listing agent? He's like, yes, he did. He cussed me out, so I cussed him out. And then he told me he was going to sue me, so I said, I'm going to sue you. And then he hung up, and I'm like, what is going on? Anyways, long story short, from threats of lawsuits and going to the papers and a Harvard lawyer, my very first deal ever finally fell apart. And they kept the earnest money deposit, whatever. And I finally was able to call Simon and said, hey, I don't think we're a good fit. So I fired him and moved on from there. But that was my first experience, getting cussed out over the phone, a client who thinks he can get $20,000 off after we've cleared all the contingencies, threatening to go to the papers. Again, whatever that means, his Harvard lawyer buddy, his mom calling me from California. And even though I'm in Virginia, like, I have no idea what's going on. And I hate real estate at the time, right? Because I wasn't making money anyways. And yeah, that was my very first client. Didn't close, but that was my I've got plenty of bad stories, right? Anyone who's been in the industry a long time has bad stories. That was one of the worst ones, especially since it was my first time.
This show is sponsored by HiveMind CRM. It is more than just a CRM. It is a real estate and business mastermind that comes with an all-in-one CRM. You can have unlimited websites and users. You can call, text, RVM, and email all in one user interface. And you can set up custom automations for any type and multiple businesses. 65% of companies start using a CRM system within the first 5 years of business. Once implemented, the HiveMind will save you on marketing, give you more time, and make more money. One of our users had his first $100,000 month using our system in June. We want to see you automate and accelerate your business. Text us at 210-972-1842 for future meetings, and of course to get our $1 course on how to make more than 6 figures on one land deal. You can schedule your free demo today at hivemindcrm.io.
One thing I really want to say on this is that firing your first client is always like scary, but it's necessary.
Yeah. Oh man, there's like, what's the point? To me, freedom in this business means the freedom to choose who you work with, right? Yep. That's really what freedom is. So yeah, if they're not a good fit, don't work with them. That's fine. Go find somebody else to love you. You know, that's huge.
The second part of that is us being real estate professionals. You're always stuck in the middle in most cases, and it's not always the good middle.
No.
The bad middle.
That is absolutely right. You know, I'm sitting there like, I can't do anything about this, right? I'll give you do I have time to give you a super quick one? Another one?
Let's do another super quick one. Let's
okay.
Go.
Let me give you a fast one. So a couple years in, I don't know, this is 2017. Got a buyer and seller, or excuse me, a buyer. And a buyer and seller. But this is them buying their house. And the house is, I don't know, $350,000. Well, first appraisal comes in. It comes in $70,000 low. So my buyer's excited. The seller obviously isn't. Excuse me. And the seller says, we're not selling it to you for that. Which I don't blame him. And so I go to my buyer, and he's like, all right, well, I understand that. And I say, well, we can change lenders and get a new appraisal, and we'll see what happens, right? Change lenders, get a new appraisal. New appraisal doesn't come in 70 low. It comes in 30 high. So it's $100,000 different appraisal, which I don't know how that happened to this day. And the seller's excited, and my buyer is livid, right? Just totally convinced that the seller has some relationship with the appraiser and somehow blah, 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 blah. Just so angry, which I understand his frustration. So angry. And so, it seems like it's a lawsuit, frustration all the time. He says, I'm going to sue the seller. Right. And I said, for what? He said, I'm going to sue the seller because they obviously had something to do with this appraisal. And I said, well, we can't do that. Right. That the bank chooses it, X, Y, and Z. He says, well, then you need to get me out of this deal. And it was the same thing. We'd clear all the contingencies. I said, we can drop right now. Right. But I want you to know it would be breaking our contract, and the seller absolutely has the right to come after you. He says, I don't care. He's cussing me out, right? I don't care. You need to get me out of this deal, right? So I call the agent. Nope, we're not letting you out. Okay. Call my buyer back. This is the husband. And I say, look, I talked to my lawyer. I talked to the other person. This is where you stand, man. You're going to lose. If you go to lawsuit, we're going to lose. We're going to end up having to pay, all the damages and the fees and blah, blah, blah that you would have paid. And now you just won't have a house. You need to buy this house. He's like, he's just stubborn at this point, right? I will absolutely not buy this house. I don't care. Let them sue me. Let them come after me. And I'm just like, bro, this is bad. He said, I don't care. So finally, after trying to convince him, I call his wife, who's tried to stay out of it the whole time, right? Yeah. She knows how he gets. I call his wife, and I just say, I'm not trying to go behind. This guy's name was Jim. I'm not trying to go behind Jim's back at all. I am genuinely worried for you guys because you're going to have spent the same amount of money that you were going to buying a house, and now you just won't have a house. That's not a good thing. So I'm just telling you, I don't know what you know, but please talk to him. I hate saying that he needs to move forward, but he needs to move forward on this house, or you're in a much worse position. Anyways, I get a call from him about an hour later, just cussing me out. You really talked to my wife? How dare you go behind my back? How you blah, 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 blah. And I just tried to say, look, bro, I care about you. That's why I don't want you to get sued and lose. My lawyer said flat out, you will lose. And he just got so angry. On the day of, finally they agreed. On the day of walkthrough, he wouldn't talk to me. And on the day of closing, he wouldn't talk to me. He was convinced it was somehow my fault. right? That, like you said, you saying we're in the middle made me think about that. I had nothing to do with it except I protected his best interests. And here I am in trouble for that, right? And sometimes it's just like, you know what? You can't win, but you do what you believe is best and right for the client to the best of your ability. And what falls will fall. And you know what? They're not in my database anymore. I'm not trying to get referrals from them. They're in a house, and I genuinely wish them the best, but man, they just was so angry, and dealing with people like that is really draining. It's what I think people don't tell you when you get into real estate is how emotional it can be, right? Or at least how emotional people can be. And we aren't really prepared for that. We're like, oh, I love people. That's why I'm going to become an agent. It's like, we've never had a client. Once you have a client, you might not love people as much. And then let's talk after that happens.
So I'm going to say two things about this. So sometimes you have to be at peace with the decisions you make, wouldn't matter the outcome. And second is people is the hardest thing in business. And if people weren't involved, it'd be like sunshine and rainbows, but people are always involved.
It's so true. It's so true, man. You're getting, like my neighbor's selling her house and it's a $23,000 commission, something like that, which is amazing, right? The numbers blow my mind in this industry. It's such a great opportunity. But she's selling her house, and I have to work against. She said it's literally next door. It was like, hey, can you go check the fireplace, the gas fireplace? And I was like, man, I don't have time for that. And then I'm sitting there thinking, check out the last episode. For me as a Christian real estate agent, especially, I'm sitting there thinking like, yes, I do. I can run over and she's paying me $23,000. I have barely done anything. It sold in 2 days. I can run over and check it. It's okay, right? And just being able to show up and do it well and recognize that reaction was just from 9 years of getting beat up by hard transactions, right? Most people are amazing to work with. Plenty of people are tough. And like you said, you got to be okay with your decisions and recognize that people are tough. They just are. You see them at their best, you see them at the worst, man. That's why I'm a huge advocate for teams, or at least being in a community like what you guys are doing, being some sort of network, so you can share those struggles together. I don't know how anybody does this on an island, man. They need to find somewhere to connect because it's hard. It's hard.
100% true. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, man. So faithfulagent.com. Yep. They can check us out there. Check out our podcast, the Faithful Agent Podcast. Get our course that's at faithfulagent.com, or email me, Garrett, Garrett, at faithfulagent.com. I'd love to help or hear your bad stories and commiserate with you, because I'm happy to do that. So thanks for having me on, brother.
For everybody here, thanks for tuning in. Garrett, thanks for your time. For everybody here, go like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, we hope you're enjoying this content. If you have leads that you need to dispo anywhere in the country, please visit hivebc.io, like hivebuyersclub.io, and we'll help you move those deals that you need to get into the marketplace.